Hello. It is Thursday and we are together because that's what we're going to start doing now. We are going to read our short stories on Wednesdays, and then on Thursdays, we are going to get judgy and we are not going to care. And we're going to read Reddit stories together. And primarily, primarily, we're going to watch other people be judgy. Sorry, changing things up just a little bit. I was going to change the background, but what do you guys think? Should we keep it the moon, or should we change it to something else for Thursdays? I don't know. Leave me a message in the chat. Let me know what you guys want to do, because we may have to buy a new tapestry. Oh no, I'll have to go shopping. Karen, are you here? Does Killstar sell tapestries? I love the moon too, and that's why she is still up tonight. But I don't know if we should change her. Of course they do. See? You know, my birthday's in like 3 weeks, so maybe I should just buy myself a birthday present and get a new tapestry for Thursdays. Hee. Send me links. Anyway, so Thursdays are going to be fun. We're going to kind of like throw out the rule book a bit, except for my request of saying hey in the chat is one thing we're going to do on this channel and on the other channel, because I love being live with you guys. I love getting to share with you, and I thought about recording these and then just being in the chat with you guys, but we're going to play with this one. The other one, I think we've got a pretty good format, pretty good setup. So I'm probably not going to change that one up very much, but this second channel is going to be where we do kind of fun and crazy stuff. I am also, because this is the second channel, if I get to feel in some way and I let a cuss word slip, a cuss word may slip out. I'll do my best, but I'm making sure that these are not marked for children, which is why you guys get to chat. I figured that out a few weeks ago when we were having problems with the other one. But yeah, so we're just going to have fun on this channel. Send me your guys's craziest Reddit stories. If you have one that you're just like, oh my God, I cannot get this out of my head, those are the best. So we're going to read the story. We're going to dive into the comments. You guys comment your feelings about this, because tonight we are doing malicious compliance and petty revenge, just because it helps me live vicariously through other people. And yeah, so we'll get, hold on, we're going to check in because I sent the link to folks. So somebody may be telling me that they can't hear me or that we've gone away. Oh, Jax, you're here too, aren't you? Aren't you? Jackson, Georgia. Yeah. So to my folks that have been at the same job for a really, really long time, I admire your dedication, and I hope that your employers appreciate you as much as they should. We're going to read some stories of some folks whose employers did not. And so, yeah, they were able to do something about it. So the first story, was just posted in Malicious Compliance 26 minutes ago. So we may not get anything other than a story, but let's just jump right in. I used to work the early shift at a small electronics store in a strip mall. Nothing glamorous, but it paid the bills. The store manager, Ron, had one rule he cared about more than anything else: every customer must be greeted immediately. Not when you get a chance, not when you're done helping someone else, immediately. You guys all know those same stores that have the same rules. You're like, I'm not even through the door. Um, and I appreciate being greeted, but let me walk in before a disembodied voice just hollers out, hello, welcome. Anyway, um, Ron had started watching the cameras obsessively. Gross. If someone walked in and wasn't greeted within a few seconds, he'd come storming out of the back later with that tight smile that meant a lecture was coming. Oh, I know that one. I got written up once because I was on a ladder grabbing a router from the top shelf and didn't greet a customer until I climbed down. That would be even worse. A voice from the ceiling just, welcome to the store. Thank you, God. Thanks. Hi. Hello. Oh, gosh. After that, he made it very clear. I don't care what you're doing. You stop and greet them every time. So I did. One Saturday afternoon, the store was slammed. I was alone on the floor while Ron hid in the office doing schedules. I was helping an older couple compare laptops. This wasn't a quick sale either. They had questions, notes, and strong opinions. I was in the middle of explaining storage differences when the door chimed. I saw the new customer out of the corner of my eye. I remembered the write-up. I remembered Ron's lecture and decided I would follow his rule exactly. I turned away from the couple mid-sentence and loudly said, hi, welcome in. Let me know if you need help with anything. The couple just stared at me. Before I could turn back, another customer walked in. Hi, welcome in. Let me know if you need help with anything. Then another time. Hi, welcome in. Let me know if you need help with anything. At this point, the older man looked annoyed. The woman folded her arms. But she did. I kept smiling and greeting every single person the second they crossed the threshold, no matter what I was doing. When one customer tried to ask me a question while someone else entered, I cut myself off mid-answer to greet the newcomer, exactly as instructed. Within 10 minutes, the laptop couple had enough. So are you actually going to help us? The woman asked, or just shout at the door all day? I apologized and said, honestly, I'm required to greet every customer immediately. They exchanged a look, closed the laptop they were holding, and walked out without buying anything. That hurt. I'd spent almost half an hour with them. It got worse. Oh, I love it when it gets worse. Customers started noticing. One guy laughed and said, man, you sound like a recording. Another asked if it was some kind of joke. A woman complained that I kept interrupting her every time someone walked in. Sales slowed to a crawl. That's when Ron finally came out of the office. He watched me interrupt a customer again to greet someone else. I could see the realization hit him in real time. He pulled me aside, clearly frustrated. Of course, he's clearly frustrated. Why are you doing it like that? He asked. I stayed calm and said, I'm greeting every customer immediately like you told me to. I didn't want to risk another write-up. He didn't yell. He just sighed hard. Later that day, he called a quick staff meeting. The rule was quietly changed to greet customers as soon as reasonably possible. The write-up disappeared from my file the following week. The fallout? Ron stopped hovering over the cameras. Customers stopped getting annoyed, and I learned something important. Sometimes the only way to fix a bad rule is to follow it so perfectly that everyone sees how broken it is. And that is very, very true. I will follow your rules to the letter, the way you've written them down. And then you can rewrite the policy to match what you actually want done. But let's see what some of the comments say. Oh, it looks like some people think it's AI. Yep, no one says welcome in. Then somebody else says, nah, we definitely used to have to say that in my store pretty frequently. That's like the most believable part of the story. Okay, so most of these comments just look like I don't know, it might be AI, but I could definitely see that somebody doing that. Yeah, the comments are definitely saying AI. Okay, so this one was posted 3 days ago. It's got 345 upvotes, so not very many. Okay. This one is titled Another Story of a Manager Getting Their Well-Deserved Malicious Complaints. I was going to type this in a comment on the post about the guy with the bad allergies that told the boss about it, so their manager got scolded, but I figured I didn't want to take over their post. This is a 2-part. Sorry for the long post. We got tons of time. Don't apologize for the length of the post. That's why we get on here. That story reminded me of a story of my own. This happened over 23 years ago when I was pregnant. Oh, okay. I worked in a grocery store and I was supposedly a front end leader. Supposedly, because as soon as the manager got informed of my pregnancy, he put me to work as a cashier while cashiers supervised me. This will be the second part of my story. Okay. Part 1. Let me get ready for this. I usually had the early morning opening shift at 6 a.m. So I was usually the only person at the checkout for the first 3 hours. There was only one person at the office, one manager, and one cashier until 9 a.m. So one morning, I had a sharp pain on the side of my belly, and being young with no Google and no one to ask about it, of course I worried. Plus the pain wasn't going away. So after a bit, I called the store manager and told him that I was not feeling good. I had a sharp pain and wanted to leave to go to the doctor. He said I couldn't leave because there was no other cashier. I had to wait until 9 a.m. and left. It was like 6:30 at that point, so a long wait for someone pregnant on their feet and in pain. It's a long time for anybody if you're in pain, let alone adding pregnant. 6:30. Okay. The HR office was located behind our store, so it was common for HR employees to be getting coffee or whatever at our store, and they were always being annoying about how we had to smile and do this and that for customers. So a few minutes later, an HR woman comes and I'm ringing her up. I told her good morning, but I was serious, not smiling. She started scolding me about, oh, where's your smile, blah, blah, blah. So I told her calmly, well, I can't smile because I am pregnant and in pain. I told my manager about it over an hour ago, but he told me he can't leave because there's no other cashier to take over until 9 a.m. Her smile quickly changed. She got pissed and asked the office person to call the manager now. When he came, oh my God, he got a terribly satisfying scolding. She even started raising her voice at him, how this was unacceptable. If there was no other cashier, he had to take over the checkout and let me go. There was no ands, ifs, or buts. I took out the money, dropped it at the office, and was out of. Okay, so that is part 1. I'm not sure what kind of store has a whole HR department in it. So maybe this is like, I don't know, maybe a Walmart-ish something. Okay. So part 2. This actually started before the part 1, but I left it for the end because it covers a longer time frame. Okay, so part 1 was somewhere part 1 was somewhere in the middle, or okay. Remember how I said I was a front end leader? When I started working at that store, I came in with the best possible attitude and ready to not make the same errors I had made in my first job because I wanted to be promoted. Sounds reasonable. Okay. I was quickly moved to front end leader, so I thought my change of attitude paid off. Right after I got the new role, I was warned by, oh no. Right after I got the new role, I was warned by an older guy coworker in the produce section to be careful with that manager because he likes women like you. Young or pregnant or both. Maybe she wasn't pregnant yet. I don't know. Okay. I have always been I have always been drooled over by men since my teens, so this was not unheard of. I thanked my coworker quietly and continued on with my day without telling others what he had told me. Mm, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure they're. Mm. As the weeks and months passed, I always asked for feedback on my job because I was new at this. And like I said, I didn't want to make the same mistakes. My manager always told me I was doing perfect. I had absolutely nothing to correct. I always worked 40 hours without missing days up to this point, and I was happy and proud of myself. I didn't want to mess it up. So I kept doing what I was doing. A few months later, I got pregnant. Okay, so she wasn't pregnant at this point. After a few weeks, I informed the manager. This is when things started to change. Suddenly, I was not supervising the front end. Instead, I was in the checkout while a cashier supervised me. My hours got cut too. I went from 40 hours. No, no, no. No. Unless your doctor says you need to cut your time down. I don't I don't think they can do that. I don't think they can do that. After a few weeks of this, I asked my manager what was going on, and after back and forth of him trying to gaslight me with, everyone here has to work whatever position is needed. So if you're needed as a cashier, that's what you're going to be doing at checkout. Ignoring the fact that a perfectly available cashier was already there doing my job. After I kept insisting for an answer, he blurted out, "You have to be more reasonable. It's easier to replace a cashier that calls out for being sick than replacing a team leader." Like I said, up to this point, I had 0 absences. I left there that day holding back tears. That sucks. That really sucks. So, cue malicious compliance. For that, I started missing days for every minor thing. Not sure how it is in the US, but where I am from, there is, or was, a law that a pregnant woman can't be fired for basically no reason. So I knew he couldn't fire me. I never called that I was not coming either. I simply did not arrive and then left them scrambling to find a cashier at that 6 a.m. shift with no one else. You couldn't do that. Yeah, I think store policy would trump any kind of anything on that here. Just because a lot of places have like a 2 no call, no show, and you're just done. They'll just kind of assume it's a voluntary termination. So, yeah. Whenever I arrived, they welcomed me with a warning to sign because I didn't call. They kept telling me I just had to call and wouldn't get a warning. I sat there very nonchalantly and rebuffed all their suggestions. You might be going a little overboard just a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. No call, no show is just, yeah. You might as well just call and tell them you're done if you're just going to no call, no show. When they said I should call, I said, I don't have a phone. I don't make enough to pay for one since my hours got cut. Then I would be told, just go to a payphone and call us. And I replied, I am pregnant and can't be walking to a payphone as I don't feel good, and I have no money for a car since my hours got cut. Ironically, while they all saw my car parked right there at the store. See, and you can't lie. Like, you can be petty, you can go along with the malicious compliance, but don't lie. Now, you might not have had enough gas for your car until today because you had to borrow money or something, but anyway. Then they would say, you can ask a neighbor to use their phone and call us. And I would say, I don't talk to my neighbor. I became super smug about the whole situation. I signed every warning, but I knew they had to tolerate my ass at least until I gave birth, so I didn't care. And if they dared fire me, I would simply sue them. We were unionized too, so I was not going to lose that battle. Okay, so it doesn't have anything to do with the law. You have a union. So, yeah, okay. Anywhoozleby. When I finally decided to grace them with my presence, I took every possible break in a 4-hour shift. I kept complaining about being hungry and dizzy. I needed food and to sit down. They looked at the long lines and knew I was the fastest cashier there and tried to ignore me, but I just kept pushing until they told me to just go quickly to grab a bite, but don't take long, please. Oh, is there going to be a union showdown in my chat tonight? Oh, okay. Well, anyway, haha. I went to the deli, ordered a sandwich, sat my ass down with a newspaper, and spent my sweet time reading all the news and talking to the older customers that also spent their mornings there with their coffee and newspaper. They kept asking me to hurry up and return to the checkout. I eventually did, and within a few minutes, I would ask to go to the restroom and spend like 15 plus minutes there, only to repeat the cycle with the food later, etc. So I took at least 2 to 3 food breaks and 3 plus restroom breaks in a 4-hour shift. I can estimate I didn't actually work more than 2 hours on every 4-hour shift. Then I missed 2 plus shifts afterwards. I basically worked 1 shift and missed 2 all the pregnancy. I made their life hell those 9 months. But it was fine. I recall the manager saying it was easier to replace a cashier than to replace a team leader. I'm not sure how I feel about this one, but we're almost done. Of course, I eventually gave birth, so I couldn't get away with missing days without calling, so I just called, but then hung up after saying I was not coming and before the manager answered the phone. They didn't like that either, so they kept giving me warnings because I had to talk to the manager. But still, they couldn't fire me because I was technically following the rules. I didn't stay long after my son was born. I left in the same manner, didn't give them 2 weeks notice, just dropped the resignation letter one day. I got tired of their shit and left right then and there. Personally, I think if you could afford to take that many days off, just like call in, I mean, unless you have really good sick pay, which I'm not sure, again, depending on where you work, maybe you had a butt ton of sick days to use, but yeah, I probably would have just quit. If you're only going to basically work 8 hours a week, you might as well just quit. So, man, I don't know. I guess there is something to be said for being able to actually like go through with that. What are we saying? I don't know any job that would put up with that, but they were fed up with her shit. Yeah. I mean, who's to say they weren't just being petty back and following their own rules and saying, all right, we can. Yeah, it just seems like it went on way longer than it needed to. Um, and I don't know if OOP was like needing the health insurance that goes along with it, but if she's not in the US, then probably not because she already had some. So let's see what some of the comments say. For future reference, number one, never ever sign write ups. It doesn't matter if they're valid or not. So, yeah, that is kind of. I'm not sure how I like. So I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an HR manager person. Um, but I've seen um, stuff to support both sides, like whether you are supposed to, whether you're signing that it's an acknowledgement that they gave it to you. Um, I would just say before you sign anything, really read the wording and say, does it say that you are admitting any kind of guilt, or does it say that you just acknowledge that somebody went over it with you, or that you were given a copy? What I would say is if you were going to sign, or even if you're not going to sign, ask for a copy, um, just so that if you need it later, um, if there are follow-ups or whatnot, you have it with you for that follow-up and can just say, okay, so this is where I've done this that you asked, this is where I've done this that you asked, and now you're changing it again. Why does the goalpost keep changing? But anyway. Yeah, they do hold it against you whether you sign it or not. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So some comments back and forth. Brett here, so we have slightly different systems, I suspect. Why do you say to never sign write-ups? And comment on that. The US has a policy called at-will employment. That means an employer can fire you at any point for no reason at all, as long as it isn't discrimination or retaliation. There are exceptions and protections in some situations, but it isn't the standard. It also means you can quit without notice. In summary, if you sign a warning, no matter how silly, you are giving the employer cause, a specific reason to fire you. And then the next comment agrees with you. It says, not signing doesn't change anything. Your manager informs HR that you refuse to sign the warning. That warning and a note that you refuse to sign then goes into your record. Somebody else says, exactly. And also, a lot of the time you are signing an acknowledgement that it was presented and you can make comments on it. I recommend always explaining your side, but if it's just signing to acknowledge that they presented it to you rather than you agreeing it rather than you agreeing with it, then you should sign it. I don't know. Yeah, this is one that kind of gets people kind of fired up because it doesn't always get presented as a write-up. They'll call it a performance review. And so they'll hold everything until, it's a 6-month or a year, whatever the company does for reviews. And then they'll put things in it and you're going to sign it as your review. And then, it might be 2 pages. So just make sure you read everything at work that you sign or are asked to sign. It's just good rule of thumb. I know there are some folks who watch who are in their early 20s and getting out into the world. Just read. I'm sorry. I know that's a hard thing for some folks to hear. Just read. And if you don't understand, get clarification, especially when it's work stuff. Get clarification. And if you can email back and just say, clarifying this means this, um, you might avoid a lot of miscommunication down the line, but you also are covering your own butt. So always cover your own butt, kids. Always. Yeah. So let's get into some petty revenge. And I'm going to need somebody who knows more about this kind of stuff to get with me. Because I have some. Oh. Oh, this title. Okay. Okay. First one. Here we go. Buckle up. I gave my religious coworker tarot cards as a going away gift. This might be AI, but I love the title, so we're going to read the story. Okay. There's important background leading up to this. So buckle up. This gets a bit weird. So about a year ago, we had a new employee we'll call Amy. The second person in this we'll call May. So Amy and May became really close, basically work best friends. May is also a witch. We're talking, oh, you want to talk tarot or crystals? You go to her. Now, she doesn't put this fact about herself on full display because she's got negative reactions. Plus, she's had people use that as a weapon against her. Absolutely. I'm into crystals, so that's how May and I connected. Amy said she was also a witch, something she and May heavily bonded over. That even went to some spiritual awakening class together. So recently, around 3 months ago, layoffs were announced, putting May and Amy on the chopping block. Now, cut to more present times, about a month ago. Amy and May had suddenly stopped talking, to the point May wouldn't even carpool if Amy was in the car. A lot of I wonder if there's spell involved. Anyway, a lot of people came to me asking what happened, as I was the closest to the two. I have no idea, but someone else told me that Amy was saying a lot of bad things about May. Huh. And you haven't heard it? So I finally asked May, and she tells me that they went to a party, something happened, and Amy wouldn't apologize for it. I then go to Amy and ask her. She won't tell me at all what happened, but did badmouth May a lot, but never once say what she did. So I go back to May. I want to know what bad mouthing she's doing that doesn't lead you to figure out what happened. Okay, we'll read on. May finally, I wish there were ages in this. Okay. May finally tells me that they went to a party and Amy left her there alone to go home with a guy and didn't tell her. Oh. Now, I don't know if this is written right. Okay, hold on. I'm going to read this whole paragraph, but it might be a little clunky. May finally tells me that they went to a party and Amy left her there alone to go home with a guy and didn't tell her. Not only that, there's just like a missing comma. Not only that, May can't go to parties alone or drive because she has epilepsy. This is well known around work. The stress of her not knowing what happened to her friend caused her to have a seizure. Oh my Lord. At a party? Oh no. Okay. Settle down. She ended up in the hospital for a day and was out of work for 2. And when May finally got to talk to Amy, she didn't apologize and And when May finally got to talk to Amy, Amy, didn't apologize and tried to make May feel like she was in the wrong. Bitch. Amy also started going on some odd crusade about May being a witch and going on some holier than thou bout. The words evil and unholy being used an uncomfortable amount. So, wait a minute. Okay, so Amy went home with a guy after telling you and May that she was a witch. She's now like outing May for being a witch. Honestly, that shift was so fast it feels like she joined some kind of religious cult. Yeah, like what happened in this at this party? Okay. And that finally brings us to the present. Where we are having a party for those being laid off. I got a gift for everyone, but got something special for Amy. For Amy, I made her a witch Wiccan gift basket with some tarot cards, a few crystals, and candles. The look on her face. She had one of those strange smiles that screamed, I can't throw a fit because I care about my image, but I'm so pissed right now. Did I spend over $30 to be petty? Yes. Yes, I did. Worth it. Oh, yeah. And I'll bet you put a big old card on there and signed it real big just to make sure she knew it was from you. Although, I mean, if she and May were like close and she told everybody that they bonded over like the witchcraft stuff, it could have been from anybody. I wonder, did she like switch out the stuff in her? I don't know. Maybe she didn't change anything because she knew she was being laid off. It's just weird. Comments. I hope you threw in a blessed be, sister. May the goddess watch over you as you go forth on your new adventure. OP says, no, but I did tell her I was sorry she was leaving, but doing tarot readings was a great way to earn extra money. Oh, that's awesome. What are some other comments? I'd have included a note saying, may you receive the karma you deserve in life. Any witch knows what goes around comes around, and any Wiccan will say it's the rule of three. So you don't want to put out bad shit. Just don't. It's going to come back. Yeah. Okay. I hope May is okay. That's a terrible thing to happen. Amy sounds like such a terrible friend. I hope she enjoys her thoughtful gift. I wonder if she actually took it with her when she left. I can see her being like, I just can't touch that. And just leaving it on her desk or wherever. But let's do one more, see if we can get a good one. Okay. Ooh. Okay. So this is an update. Oh, but it's awaiting moderator approval. Dang it. We're going to save that one just because. Okay. So this one, the OP is The Forgotten Daughter. I love it. And the title of her story is Future Generations Will Know Who He Was. He. This is probably the pettiest thing I've, 30s female, ever done. And it's because the person receiving said revenge will never know I did it, because it won't go into effect until after he's dead. Oh, yes. I love long range pettiness. I really do. It's juicy and delicious. Strap in. This will be a long one because a lot of context has to be given. There is a trigger warning, so I'm going to read it. So you guys can peace out and I love you and I'll see you next week, or you can stick with me and we'll see what happens. Trigger warning: this story involves crimes involving kids by the receiver of the revenge. You've been warned. Context number 1. I have been no contact with my sperm donor. He has long lost the title of dad for 7 years. The reason for this is because of a giant fallout that happened about 8 years ago when stuff started coming out that he had done something criminal. I'm going to keep the details to a minimum here, as I don't know if him or any of his family has read it. Thank you. But the short of it is that he was found out he had hundreds of pictures and videos of CP on his computer. He apparently wanted homemade, though, because we also found out that he had installed a hidden camera in the family bathroom and had taken inappropriate videos and photos of people, including children, family members, and family friends, adults, and kids. Gross! Okay. No, he doesn't get to use that anymore. You're absolutely right. Let me be clear. Based on the evidence, there is zero doubt that he did this. Not for anyone with a brain and no rose-tinted glasses. Specifically, one bit of evidence that I won't reveal here because, again, I want to limit details. Y'all will just have to trust me that it's damning and makes it a 100% sure thing he did what he is accused of. Well, I guess where this is going. Yet there are people in my family that still defend him and did through all of this. Of course there are. He could never. He would never. He was framed. Insisting he couldn't possibly have done this, that someone set him up. No one did. He's just disgusting. But some people will do anything to ignore the wrongs of family. Yep. After many delays, continuations, and a change in prosecutors, he got cut a deal because the new prosecutor was presumably trying to save tax dollars or was just lazy. Maybe he saw how long this had been getting pushed down the road and just decided he wanted to end it rather than take it to trial. That's probably it. Who knows? But the deal led to all charges involving kids being removed, and he got 2 minor charges. So, like peeping, probably. Sentencing included a large fine, probation, and a tiny amount of jail time. Of course, he didn't plead guilty because he did it. It was because he didn't want to put his kids through a trial to prove his innocence. How self-sacrificing. What the hell does a trial matter to his kids at the end of this long time? They've been through all of it. They don't have to go to the courthouse for a trial. They're watching all of it happen. Oh my God. People make me mad. Anyway. Again, I do not speak to him, and I do not speak to any family that defend him and still insist he is not guilty of what he did. In large part because with him taking the plea, no evidence was physically shown. So those who wanted to yell about how the evidence wasn't real or that it was planted, that they wouldn't believe it till they saw it. could just keep telling themselves it wasn't real because they never saw it. Unfortunately, he is a pillar of the community type. Gross. And the people that did know about the charges have fallen for his lies. He is highly manipulative and has a way of making himself smell like roses no matter what he did, and people will believe him. Yep. Those who don't know what he was accused of or pled guilty to don't, because while his initial arrest was reported on, his ultimate sentencing was not. Many people where he lives probably have no idea. He is on he is on no list. Yes. Of course he's not. Since the prosecutor got rid of those charges involving minors. Despite, as it turns out, shut up. This not even being the first time he was caught with CP in his life. More than once. The legal system dropped the fucking ball on this one. They sure did. They sure did. Context number 2. I have access to a premium account on Ancestry. I think I've only been on Ancestry like twice. I should get back on it. I don't know if I want to pay for it though. We'll find out if it's worth it. We'll see. I use it frequently to do genealogy. If you do not know how Ancestry works, you could look up news articles, graves, births, marriages, etc., and stuff listed on other people's trees about a person. Depending on what other people have on their trees, you can find some really cool photos of people and get a pretty good idea of who they were as people. There are sites you can use to look at old articles someone has scanned in, sites to find graves. There's a lot of parts to this. So they're like a microfiche section almost on Ancestry. I don't know. Now I kind of want to play on it. But anyway, we'll get back to the story. There's a lot of parts to this, but the biggest thing is people looking at each other's trees to get more information on someone. If you've never tried it, you should. Truly. It's fun to look into the past and see what past generations in your family were like. One of my favorite things I've ever found is my husband's great grandma was a race car driver, and I can't imagine that was an easy profession for her in that day and age. That is pretty cool. Yeah, we may have to play. That being said, you can't see details about a living person. If you have a family tree, you can add details about living people to your heart's content. But unless you've given someone access to change or manage your tree or have given them your login, other people can't see those details. Oh. So, to clarify, if someone looks at my tree, say we have a relative in common and they're looking at the details I have on my tree for them, any details I've put about myself or living family members are not visible to that person. All they will see is a box on the tree that indicates male or female and no other details. The most you can get is an adult blue box. An adult pink box are married, and you have 2 bouncy baby blue boxes and 1 pink baby box. If you personally know the people, you can figure out who was who. But any details someone has put about that person are, again, not visible to others. Those details, however, become visible after that person dies. Yes. Yes. The revenge. I know. Oh, I know, Jax. I know. Okay. Now, the revenge. There's not much I can do in all of this, but it ruined my family. People I love are victims of his. There was at least one picture of me, though I was not included amongst the victims, because the case wanted to focus on those with far more evidence. I get it. And then they just threw it all away anyway. But I hate with everything in me that he got a slap on the wrist, that he faced basically zero repercussions for his actions, because the prosecutor who wanted to nail him to the wall got a new job and was replaced with someone too lazy to get justice for the victims. On top of that, he has taken to further gross behavior towards some of his victims since his sentencing. Of course. Why not? One day, it occurred to me when working on genealogy stuff that because there was no real paper trail in the news, future generations would also not know what he did. And at most, maybe, the article on his arrest would show up for people doing research on him. Even then, with so many articles now being digital, there's a chance it would be lost to the sands of time someday. Depending on what his family upload to the site, all people will see is a perfect family, a community man. So I said, fuck that. As you should. As you should. I made his mugshot his only photo on my tree. I linked and added a copy of the article from when he was arrested. I put a few details, but I didn't have any documents to go with it, sadly. It brought me some peace knowing that something would be out there, though. That when someone looked him up someday, they wouldn't just get the impression he was a good family man. 2 of his 3 kids don't speak to him for a reason. Only reason it's not 3 is because the 3rd is delusional. Oh, no. Maybe victimized. Anyway. Recently, though, happy day. I found out how to access the court documents online. mycase.com. Go to your county courthouse website and start there. I read every single one, as I think you should. Then I downloaded the initial charges, his sentencing document, and a proffer that had been submitted with a list of evidence exhibits. Oh, the evidence wasn't attached, so no photos or videos. Not that I would upload those, but it was a list. It's beautiful. Think exhibit number 1 is ABC. Exhibit number 2 is DEF, etc. The exhibits gave simple descriptions of what the evidence in the exhibit was, describing how many pictures were found, for instance, along with some very specific evidence, including an exhibit that included that piece of evidence that made it undoubtable he did it. I wonder if a new victim came forward, if he could be tried again, and then all of that. I don't know. I'm overthinking that. It's not even my story. Anyway. And I uploaded them to his profile on my ancestry tree. I then included details with these documents as to why the initial charges and the ultimate sentencing are so different, despite all the evidence listed in the proffer document. They also have case numbers, so if someone ever wanted to, they could look up more of the documents. Again, he will never know I did this. It won't be visible till after he dies. Most of my family will never know I did this. The only way they'll find out is if one of my new family members that is related to him and also uses Ancestry outlives him. I mean, people get hit by buses every day. They just okay, so nothing will happen to him in this life for what he did unless he fucks up. Excuse me, that's twice today. Nothing will happen to him in this life for what he did unless he fucks up and offends again, which he might. Unless he does, though, He committed an awful crime and faced basically zero consequences. And that bothers me intensely, that he has manipulated and sweet talked his way into keeping a good reputation he shouldn't have anymore. Reputation and respect mean everything to him. I can't count how many fights the man has had with those around him that centered around others' opinion of our family. Been there. Most people don't know what he did. And if they know the accusations, they have been sweet talked into thinking he didn't do it. But future people will. When someone is working on their tree years from now and they search his name, they will see my tree, as I am one of the most done trees that center around him on the site. When they get to my tree in their research, they will know exactly who he was. He won't be able to keep that good reputation after death. His legacy will be the crimes he committed, the loved ones he hurt, including his kids. Future generations will know who he was. And that brings me a small amount of peace. I hope it does. Edit. Okay, so some folks must have been kind of crappy. Edit, for clarification, by sperm donor, I do not mean the kind where he had a hand in making my kids. I mean he had a hand in making me. He has lost the right to be called my dad. Yes, he has. Ooh. Top comment. What a sad tale. He deserves to have all of that info uploaded someplace very public right away. The delayed reveal only reduces his suffering and allows him to continue manipulating people. OP says, honestly, there's not so much to reveal. As I said, people who know have chosen to turn a blind eye or believe his lies, and those who don't somehow missed it on the initial reporting, and there were no follow-up articles after his arrest. It's a small town, and from what I understand, most people know about what happened unless they moved here in recent years. Hell, some of his defenders are his victims because they choose to believe he was somehow framed. I've told the few friends I have in the area. I live nowhere near that side of my family, and I have this username for a reason. But that's as much as I've been able to do. At the end of the day, I don't know what the legal ramifications would be for blasting this when he was technically not found guilty of taking pictures of kids. Comment to that. Could you leak this story to a local news reporter? Comment to that. The headline, new prosecutor drops the ball on prolific offender who poses as pillar of the community. Pretty dang impressive. OP could look up a good investigative reporter who generally digs into stories like this. Might have to go less local and to one of the bigger media outlets to get the story out there, though. Yes. Yeah. Gross. But I hope one day somebody actually does see that. I mean, he won't be held to account here because anyway. But with that, I'm gonna wrap up because in half an hour we have the Cozy Coven. So if you guys want to go fix a snack, I'm going to figure out why my throat hurts. And yeah, I'll see you guys in half an hour on the Coven, or I will see you next Wednesday on the main channel, or I will see you here next Thursday for some more Reddit. So yeah, send me some Reddit stories. Like, share, subscribe, do all the things. There's a little bell. Hit that, and I'll see you guys soon.